And it's Dan and James talking about the Villa games. Hi there, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the AVFC Faithful podcast with myself, Dan, and of course, James, back again. And for the first time in what feels like forever, we're going through a loss, James. I'm at a loss, talking about a loss, to be honest with you. It's a strange feeling, isn't it?
It's not just a loss. We haven't scored. It was only 2 weeks ago that I said I can't ever see us not scoring again.
Yeah,
and now we're here. But I mean, we were close to still. That's the frustrating bit. I keep looking back and I keep seeing that Lindelof block on the line where I thought Dougie had smashed it top bins, and I thought, yeah, here we go, game on. I can't believe he blocked it still. But fine margins, a game where it took us too long to work out how to stop them and get at them. But it's been Old Trafford, I don't think they've lost to anyone but Brighton this season.
No, they've got. I mean, the Old Trafford record for the past 40 odd years has been immense, hasn't it? Not to mention this season.
I was going to say it's not a happiest place to go in general.
No,
but you know, they deserved the win, but we troubled them. It wasn't easy for them, and you know, it is a blip in the road, but 4 more big ones to come.
Yeah, it's an uncomfortable one to take. I think of all the teams to lose to in this final run in, Man United's the one that a lot of us have a bit more resentment towards losing to as well, if we're being honest. It's a blow, I think, but I think it is being taken a bit out of proportion by some fans as well, because I think when we look at the context of it, if someone had told me from January we go to United away and lose 1-0 in a pretty contentious game towards the end, I probably would have been like, fair enough, taking that at the start of the season, to be fair, before we beat him at home. So, of course, going into it, it was all a bit, I myself included, got very caught up in the idea of us not losing another game this season. But we got to be fair to United themselves. They targeted a very strong weak point of ours, and something that was very uncomfortable watching over and over again, which was the high line, which I usually quite enjoy watching us play, and I've quite enjoyed watching Emmy, do his little sweeper keeper runs. But weirdly enough, it wasn't a long ball per se that caught us out. It was I think
second phase, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, it was from a goal kick. It's a goal kick that gets headed back in from Casemiro, and even then, the multiples that happen afterwards, Rashford's through, he shoots. I think all of us expected that to be the goal, and then, I'm not even upset with the way that Emmy saves it, because I think the way that Rashford seems to hit the ball, it seems to not be the easiest to hold on to.
And it was wet.
Yeah, of course, and in the worst ways possible, as we uncomfortably saw quite a few times. And again, he pushes it out wide. 9 times out of 10, our defender makes that, but they don't. Yeah. And then as soon as Bruno gets the ball, of course, the way he hits it then hits Moreno in a way that causes the deflection to bounce away. I'm not saying that United were lucky, but I'm saying the way that goal was scored is quite
fine
frustrating.
Margins.
It is very fine margins, and those are way games between. We can say this now. Games between top 6 clubs are usually decided. Sky likes to hype up like the Manchester United Liverpool derby, and aside from the times where it's rivalry, but aside from the times where it's big blowouts, it's very rare you get high scoring games. They're usually 0-0s, 1-0s. So
yeah,
I took a lot of pride from that, thinking that neither team got blown up. It seems to be that we're at that level now, or United's at our level, or whatever. It felt a lot more. You got to take comforts from the losses, haven't you?
Yeah, you got to find the positives. I mean, there was obviously plenty of negatives that we could take from it, but I think a lot of it did come down to the fact that individually in each position, they are mostly better than us. To be fair, you'd keep Emi Martinez. I'd have Douglas Luiz over. Who do they have again? Who's next to? Was it Sabitzer?
No, he came on, didn't it? It would be Eriksen.
Yeah, I'd take Luiz over Eriksen in context. They just outclassed us individually and outwitted us in the sense that something I noticed was they kept leaving the man offside.
Yeah,
like not interfering, but it'd like sort of mess with our high line and then they'd spring it. But yeah, the goal, it came from being on our heels. I don't think we expected second phase like that from the goal kick. It was just a big header back, and Konsa was a bit on his heels, and Rashford's fast. You can't give him 2 yards like extra, because he's so quick. But yeah, it was, as you say, fine margins. But it was nice that we stuck to our philosophy. We didn't go away from the high line. We didn't try and go too direct too much, and we stuck to our guns. And it's that sort of thing that when we're looking in the summer at where we improve, you see in games like that where we're a bit short against the top teams, and you can say, we need someone a little bit better on the ball, maybe in midfield, because Dendoncker, I think he does a really good job of breaking up play and helping out in that sense, whereas Kamara does that and then also can play forward.
Yeah,
with a bit more what's the name?
Athleticism.
Athleticism. Oh my God, I can't speak. It's been a long day. Athleticism, yeah. So it's sort of those games where you see the difference in quality, and that's what will be addressed in the summer. And I think if you put in a centre back that's really comfortable and quite quick playing out from the back, but also recovery pace, I think you sort of cut out some of those goals that you do concede. It was the same in the cup against United.
Yeah.
The 4-2, the high line was done then, but we stuck to our philosophy, and we can see where we're gonna improve in the summer.
Yeah, it helps. It helps Unai see as well the glaring gaps like you've mentioned, and it's a strange system because obviously you watch it and your natural instinct is to go, please never ever do that again. But I kind of, like I say, I kind of like that he's doing it, because I think it's good that he molds this team into how he wants it to be, and basically it's a bit of natural selection as well, and it's separating the wheat from from the chaff. It's never going to be happy losing, and we're never gonna be at a place, thankfully, now where we're accepting it, and I think it's a delighted change, really, isn't it? Because I'm so used to thinking Old Trafford guaranteed loss, and I'm going into work today and I'm saying to people, we lost, but I'm not upset with the loss so much anymore. Yeah. Of course, I was fuming with the minor details that I always am, and I was obviously adamant at full time that PGMOL have camped up at Old Trafford, and I will say I do think Casemiro was very lucky not to be booked on that tackle on. Who was the tackle even on? I think it was. Well, he did two on Ramsey, didn't he, in the first half? That I can't go over that first. I think the commentator I was listening to said you got to, and obviously the ref's giving him a fair bit of fair play because it's wet, and I thought, I'm fairly certain it's not in the rule book. If weather is wet, you can 2-foot someone. I was going to say
that's more reckless then, because you're not in control of your body in the wet. Like it doesn't make sense. And the thing was, you could tell that there was intent in it, because it happened because I think that one of their players was down injured. Was there?
I think you can guess which one. Basically, I'll run back through it because it pissed me off as soon as I saw it. Can't remember who the defender is, but someone's blocking off Fernandez and tussles into him the side and gets the legs in front, and obviously he goes down holding his ankle, screaming shock. And
never heard that before.
Continues playing, it gets a bit scrappy, and then as soon as Ramsey gets it, he goes straight into him. Now, I don't want to get too caught up into this, but you've started me now, so I have to finish. There will never be a player I dislike more watching more than Bruno Fernandes, and I know there are likenesses, and I will be the first to admit them, between his attitudes and Emi Buendia's attitudes, but I refuse to believe anyone is as bad as that man. And the celebration's the worst part of the way he stands there. Like you would have thought he'd just beat 10 men on his own, chipped it into the back of the net, and scored the winner of the Premier League. Standing there like he owns the play. It vexes me. It truly vexes me looking at him.
I was hurling all sorts of abuse at the TV at the time. I was like, "Fuck off! You ain't the main character." It was a deflected goal, but I mean,
basically, in professional football terms, really, he should be scoring. Like, if he'd have missed, it's going everywhere. Not as bad as a Calvert-Lewin or a Bamford miss this weekend, but it's I mean, I'll never ever allow that man to escape criticism, and he did it all game, and he was winding up, and he winds me. I'm certain it's about me. I'm certain he knows he winds me up, because every time I see him, And then they're doing this whole argument between him and Casemiro at the end of the game. Like, oh, look how professional they are arguing. Oh, fuck off, man. No.
I'm going to annoy you for more now, though, because I have to give it to him. But he was a difference maker on Sunday.
Oh yeah,
he was
yeah.
quality. To be fair to him,
I thought Casemiro was wow. He was the player that they signed, weren't he? And painful, but
But yeah, it's one of those.
Those Glazers always valuing all these good players. How dare they Glazers out?
Yeah, the thing is, if the likes of Bruno, like I can't stand him, but at the same time, like football needs that, which is annoying. It needs that bit of like, the anti-balance, if you know what I mean.
Oh,
it needs someone to be fiery and that, and it's the same with Buendia. I mean, I know that he's a bit more stroppy. I mean, sometimes it looks like he's shopping with his own players. I don't think it is the case. I think he's always frustrated with himself, and after we sort of like singled him out for some praise last week, he did sort of drop a bit of a stinker against United. But just like all of them, though, he's not just physically fatigued. He's mentally fatigued now. It's been a long run in for a small squad, and they've done really well. And if we had someone that could give him a bit of a break, a bit of a reset, then I think that would help him. Because I mean, when he used to come off the bench under Gerrard, he'd make an impact. And I think sometimes a player can do with that, a bit of competition and then a different view on the game. When you come on, you're the one that can change a game then. So I think that's something that he could do with, I think, maybe. But there's not going to be any scapegoating here. He's a good player. I think we need someone that can run him for his money in the squad. But it's instant overreactions of, we're not getting Europe now. It's over, and Buendia needs to be gone. Ramsey needs to be gone, and it's just like, relax a bit.
I did see that today. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. You mentioned I did see talk about Ramsey not being good enough, and
I can understand like the criticism of him, but at the same time, he's only 21 still. He's got so long to go in his career. He's improved drastically in the past like 2 seasons, and you can see he's got top quality. He just needs that. And who better to be rounded off by than Emery? I mean, that sounds quite, But
I was just going to allow it to pass, to be honest, James. But...
I can't. I heard it straight away when I said it, but he's the perfect teacher for Ramsey, and he's found his sort of really good position for him because he can come alive in the final third, and that's where he does his best work. So he's got plenty of time on his hands, and I think that all of this squad have shown their worth, and they don't need overhauling; they need helping.
Yeah, people seem to forget as well. This squad wasn't one that was. If we're going to be perfectly honest, it's not a squad that you would expect to be built to fight for Europe as well. And I think there's probably getting some, like you mentioned with the mental fatigue, it's probably getting some that they're in this European fight that they probably weren't expecting. And they probably are feeling quite a bit of pressure, even though I don't actually think they're probably getting too much from Emery and saying that, we have to be in Europe. I do think that they're aware of the idea that this is like a huge chance for them and for the club. And I think it is hitting them a little bit, like you said, and the Jacob Ramsey stuff makes me laugh a little bit just because, like you say, he's a kid and he's been thrust into that starting 11, which again is amazing me that he plays as much as he does. I mean, was it last season he got fatigued as well? I believe halfway through the season had to take we were all screaming for him to come off because it literally was not running anymore the way he was being played out of his skin. And
you could see he was burning out, and again, it was mentally as well. He's playing in a very strange position, and it was his first full season, like senior season, where he was starting constantly. So he just needed to be used a bit more sparingly. But the squad was so imbalanced, and there wasn't the right sort of players, and there was a manager that was too inexperienced and not up to the job. So that. They've had a good experience the past few months. This has been really good for them. And, we knew that obviously the run was always going to come to an end at some point. We obviously didn't really want it to end this season, but it could have ended in a much worse way than, a narrowly contested 1-0 away at United. And there's still 4 big games against teams that are around us. So there's still a lot in our hands, and I genuinely look at them and think, all four, we can get at those. They're going to be very hard games, but we've got it in ourselves, and we've got the quality to grind out results or to outright batter someone.
Beat the best to be the best, isn't it? I'm not saying
Yeah,
that our next opponents aren't particularly the best, but you know, to finish where you want to be, you got to expect these runs to come along, and you got to expect the idea that there's going to be not every single team, as is shown by Brighton in midweek last week, are going to win all of these games running up to the end. It'd be nice to, but I mean, Brighton losing 3-1 away to Forest, they're managing to change up pretty much their entire starting 11 from, well, not their entire starting, but the predominant players that we recognise from Brighton's team, and then go and smash Wolves. Like, that shows the levels of what we're playing up against as well, and Liverpool doing what they did. And I mean,
well, that's the thing with Brighton. They went and lost. They lost 3-1 to Forest. Were they at home that game?
No, away to Forest.
Away. But it's not necessarily about the loss. It's how you react. And Brighton went and reacted in a great way, and that they rested a couple of players. I'm not sure how we can get around resting players. I mean, if Cash is available, Young could do with a rest, and it'd be lovely
Bailey
to have
if he comes back. But
I mean, if we could have Bailey back against Wolves, that could be a real weakness for them. The pacing behind with Watkins, Moreno, and Bailey. I know that Bailey's not exactly the flavour of the month any month for Villa fans, but he's not even as quick as what we thought he would be when he comes in, but he's still
quick enough,
quick outlet, and in a moment where he can do something, he can bring something out of the hat, even if it's 1 in 20. So it would be nice to have, the big four that are missing back, and if we could get Carlos a couple of minutes in the next 4 games, that'd be nice. It's all helpful if we can get that.
Yeah, it leads me on beautifully to the one man I do want to talk about from the game, because although we lost, it was a win in my eyes, and it's any time I get to see Jean Duran come onto the pitch. I messaged you yesterday and I said I'm certain he gets sent off before he scores for Villa. I love him. I like, how can you not love a bloke that comes on, runs for everything, and just scraps every time? Not like moany scraps, but just scraps because he feels like he needs to. I mean, he literally came onto the pitch. Remind me again, 19, John Duran is?
Yeah.
And he had what feels like 50-year-old Luke Shaw at this rate. I know he's not, but he feels quite old. On strings. Just wound him up straight away. And I've seen, and then Luke Shaw gives him a little push behind his back, and Jean Duran literally mocks him by pretending to fall over. And I'm seeing United fans going, "You don't mess with Luke Shaw." What? As a 19-year-old messing with a bloke that's nearly 10 years... Well, he's got to be 10 years his senior.
Yeah, at least, surely. It's got to be around that now.
Well, yeah.
It's got to be around that.
I'm saying he is. No fact checking. I'm just going to say he is. He's more than 10 years older than John Duran.
I think he was 2013. I remember him in the Southampton squad. He was really good, and he's got to have been about 18 then. So yeah, he's probably about 28, 29 now. So around 10 years his senior. The thing is about Duran, like, he came on, he doesn't look uncomfortable. He wants the ball. He's a bit of a battering ram. He dropped deep at one point to get the ball, laid it out wide left straight away, and it was a really nice piece of playing. He doesn't do that all the time. He can be a bit wasteful, but 19, new to the league. The thing is, I keep saying it, he's built for this league. His stature and physique, he's ready for it. And I think, he's someone that will have benefited from the last few months, because bit of a pre-season behind him going into next season. I don't see him being loaned out personally. No. I don't think, it sounds silly, we haven't seen a lot of him, but I don't feel like he needs it. I feel like he needs this gradual game time, brought into him. And I would like to see a couple more crosses whipped into him early at times, get him in the box and see what he can do with it. But I know it's not particularly our style like that, but when you're getting towards needing the goal towards the end of the game, you need a bit of a different dynamic. So if you can bring Luca Dean on and get an early cross in there maybe and see what he can do with that. But yeah, I do love his fight for the club already. He's only young and he just wants to do something. Even if it's off the ball or on the ball, he's ready for any sort of fight.
Yeah, it's just the little things entertain me, and if I'm seeing him subbed on and hacking someone down and getting a booking, I don't know why, but like you said, he is a kid. He is. I mean, I feel uncomfortable saying that because I feel like I'm still a kid, but he's younger than me, and yeah, I don't agree with the idea of him being loaned out because I feel like this is his loan. Kinda, he's getting his taster for the league, the dribs and drabs. I don't want to see him start at the moment because I don't think he benefits from that at this point. I think he benefits more from coming on. He's getting the crowd behind him, whipping him up and stuff. And I think he quite buys off of that, and he quite buys off the idea of being that guy at the moment.
Yeah,
Doesn't seem to be an issue at all with not playing. So I quite like that because a lot of these players can sort of come in, don't really matter where they're from. But they come in, they're automatically on the bench not playing, and you sort of see in the way they're playing, the attitude, they're angry. And it's good that he's not, and it's good that it probably shows that he was bought and told as soon as he was bought, look, you're not going to be our star striker, for example, this season, but this is a long-term plan we've got for you. So that signals good things for the club, I think, and probably a good pointer towards the transfer window where you might see a mixture of signings from starters to people that are just going to be playing backup for a while. Just depends where we finish, doesn't it? I know the transfer strategy massively changes, even if we're in the Conference League. I mean, do West Ham get Lucas Paqueta if they're in the Conference League, or if they're not? Like things like that change, don't they? The way these clubs get their players and the transfer strategies do change around Europe. So
yeah, it's not just even like the quality that you can pull. It's like when you get to Europe, it's the amount that you need in then. Because I mean, you have 2 domestic cups that you're in, and then if you have a European Cup and then the league as well, you want to be fighting on all fronts as long as you can.
Yeah.
So it does. We've seen how a couple of times over the last month we've had a midweek game and it's taken its toll. So you do need the numbers in, and they can't just be numbers for the sake of it. They need to be quality. So it will be interesting. I think everyone's on the same sort of page about what we need in the squad, and people have quite common targets that they'd like, but it's up to the scouting department and Unai to figure out who's the best to come in and help us. And I'm easy. I have my favourites that I'd love to see come in, but it's quite nice knowing that I feel like he'll pick the right people anyway. And it would be quite fun to see someone that no one really had on their list to come in and make a difference. That'd be quite fun. Well, yeah, he looks like he's got a good career ahead of him.
Well, I know he's getting on a little bit, but I'm sure he could do an half decent job for the reserve team, can't he?
Give him a support striker on, and I'll tell you what though, thinking about that, imagine Messi feeding Watkins. Jesus
Ridiculous.
Christ. Honestly, Watkins would be on 30. He'd be on 30 goals.
Yeah,
he really
would. Yeah, and that's without penalties as well, because there's no way he'd be taking on with Messi in the team.
I'd rather Watkins. Just a stat pad.
I respect that. To us, put him on corners as well. Just a stat pad.
Just do it.
Well, no, you mentioned that actually. I think one of the players we keep talking about personally, more so than on here, I think we have mentioned him, is obviously Zaha, and I think he's an interesting player. I'd actually quite like to see him for Villa now. I'm sort of buying into that. You've mentioned even another outfield one. I'm going to drop you in it from last night is Iwobi.
Yeah, he's a bit of Marmite in here, especially to Everton fans as well. But I don't know. I just see a player that improved even under Lampard in a more central
That's
role.
saying something.
Yeah, exactly. So he looked when he was playing next to like Onana or Doucouré, someone who can give him a little bit more freedom. He looks like he could be a good player. He was sloppy on the ball at times last night. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I feel like there's a good player in there that looks quite versatile that could play central, out wide, support. I think there's players like that are around that we might not necessarily think that they're good enough, but it's what they bring to the table under Emery's coaching. I feel like those sorts of players could come in and do something. I'm not necessarily saying whack out the checkbook, go and splash 50 million on Iwobi, but players of that sort of ilk that have got a bit of experience and a bit of quality. And I said we was talking about this last night. Put any player under Emery and he's going to be the Ballon d'Or winner in 5 years or something. I feel confident that any sort of player that comes in, even if they're already quality, is just going to get better.
Yeah, it is coming across that way. And I think I am of a different idea around Iwobi, but I do think as well a lot of what I don't say he didn't really make too many mistakes yesterday, but a couple of his misplaced passes probably just comes under the idea of the fixture as well and the pressure that they're under. I think a lot of us forget that it's a very high pressure environment, believe it or not. I don't know if you realise, but it's quite an important league, and Everton are in quite dire straits at the moment. So yeah, it's we do have to unfortunately talk about the Saturday game, because I say unfortunately, but it's only because it's a different. I was really excited to play Wolves because it was quite simple in my eyes, and then they lost 6-0. Now, if they lost 2-0, I'd feel very different. But I mean, this is their cup final, isn't it, on Saturday?
Yeah, it's they love to play us at home, and they're going to want a reaction after the 6-0. You know, it was going to be hard enough anyway, but they're going to want to be fired up, and they're going to be into us. And I feel like whenever we play Wolves, that their midfield just sort of takes over and it overruns us at times, because they've got a really good midfield. Their problems lie at the back and up top half the time, and I feel like that's what will benefit us in a sense, because we're quite strong at the back, and we can score goals. We've shown that for ever since Emery's come in. So
R.I.P. goal scoring record, gone but never forgotten.
don't remind me. I've said it for the past 2 weeks now. I'm backing Watkins to get back in the goals again. I feel like it's coming. He's been a bit isolated, but I don't know. I feel like that Watkins, that Wolves defense is ready to get torn apart by Watkins. I hope. I don't want to make a mug of myself here, but yeah, I'd be interesting to see if there's any sort of changes, if there's any returns to the squad, and then how we approach it. Because I remember the home game against Wolves that was a bit tough to watch, to be honest. I personally think that was their worst performance under Emery, the Wolves game.
And yeah, it weren't great, was it?
No, it was saved by a good pass from Mings and a good finish from Mings, but it's a tough place to go. I don't like playing them, to be honest. I don't particularly see it as a derby myself, but you know how they always build it up. So I don't know. I don't know how I'd predict it, but I just feel like it's going to be quite close. I might go 1-0 Villa.
Yeah, if it was a proper derby, it'd be on live television, wouldn't it? That's what I always say. There's no way they allow this fixture to not be televised.
3 o'clock kick-off as well, isn't it?
Well, yeah, exactly. And who's going to be watching that when you can watch a coronation? There's only one king.
Yeah,
it's Unai.
There we go.
Yeah, I've gone reserved for once, and I've gone 7-0. No, I've gone I've gone 2-0 away win. I think a lot of the wrongs will be righted from Sunday. Not that there were many, but I think they're gonna go, look, we've had this rest. Let's get back at it. Let's put on a bit of a show for the boys traveling the not too far journey down to the Molineux. And yeah, I've gone for a Watkins double as well. I think he's going to be a bit annoyed on Sunday as well for that slip, whatever, from the pass across goal. Although I do think Delo does really well against him and puts him off just enough for that to work. So yeah, I think I don't like playing them. Like you said, it does feel like every single time that I'm sort of watching us have no midfield against them. I had it written down earlier, the exact same thing as you. So look, it's not going to be a case of worrying too much about. I'm not worried about Wolves. I'm more worried about us. I'm worried about us doing exactly what needs to be done in the game in order to take the fight against them. And we all know it's going to be bouncing in there. We all know that it's going to be set up as this do or die game. But I think even if we draw against Wolves, I think people have really dramatized how much Europe's off and forgotten the fact that technically our main rival now is Tottenham.
Yeah, I mean, them, and they're quite poor.
Exactly. So look, I'm under no impressions. I think that Liverpool have got way too good of a squad to finish below us now, and I think Brighton are just hitting that run in that they need to. So I think 5th and 6th may possibly be sealed off in a minute, but I struggle to see how we can lose out to Tottenham unless Tottenham go on some miracle run. And don't get me wrong, they weren't awful yesterday, but I mean, I can see enough in a team that manages to go 3-3 and lose again in the last minute that we can leapfrog them. So, 2-0. I think Watkins comes back into the scoring, and I think we're going to be. It looks different, doesn't it? As soon as you win, everything looks different.
It does. I think we've been used to the past few weeks of just winning, going up the table, and it's not nice to drop down the table and drop points and that. But I don't. This league's quite mad. I don't think 5th and 6th is sealed off either, because anyone can beat anyone pretty much in Leicester City. And I suppose you could put Arsenal in that as well. But yeah, it's one of those. I mean, I'd be over the moon with 7th. We've said that from the start. I mean, when we were in 5th, not that long ago, last week, Europa felt like a nosebleed territory. So it's just see how it goes. And I keep saying, when it gets to the end of the season, last game at home against Brighton. Brighton are a really, 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 really tough team to play at the moment. I don't think I remember a team that's on such a smallish budget playing like such a top 4 team most of the time. So, but at Villa Park, when there's something on the line, I'm thinking end of May, sunny weather. It makes you think of playoffs.
Yeah,
something special can happen. So you just got to see how it plays out. 4 games is a long time at the same time as it's not a long time. I don't know how else to explain that, but just enjoy it for what it is for the rest of the season there, and then big summer ahead.
I mean, start of the season, we had Steven Gerrard in charge. We were fighting relegation prospects when Unai Emery took over. So no matter what, we could finish 9th and I'd be buzzing, because it's knowing where we've come from and it's knowing where we're going as well under him. And I think obviously a loss is disappointing, and like you said, dropping down the table is always disappointing. But as soon as you bring the context into it, you just stop caring, because we've made Watkins. We were worried about Watkins. He's gone from being a striker that we all. I'm not going to put you into this because you never did, but a lot of us said that wasn't good enough to be leading the line for us. Has now reached over double digits again for us in a season. We've got Douglas Luiz, who's basically the next best midfielder ever to touch the grass. We've got Tyrone Mings, who's proving once more how great he is. We've got Alex Moreno, who's come from January. It looks like he's been in the league for about 2 years. So like the squad itself is so enjoyable to watch in isolation that you kind of get caught up in a lot of the emotions and a lot of the talk. And I'm just not worried about it. It's like, like you said, the only reason I go to say 5th and 6th is just because I think I'm just used to
I understand
to seeing them. But it is nice to know almost that it's not sealed off as well, and it's nice to. I mean, we're still in the conversation, and that's all you can really ask for. And no one expected to even be in the conversation, let alone finish in there. So, I completely agree with you. I think it's time sometimes to just take a step back, and it sounds quite. I don't know, words kind of escaping me, but to always say people, oh, well, look where you came from, look where you are now. But I think it's starting to ring true to a lot of people, in that we really have just come on leaps and bounds, and no one expected it. And maybe we as Villa fans can just enjoy it.
Exactly.
Just be happy, because how long has it been, man?
It's been a long time since we've been challenging like this,
or just comfortable. It's been so we've just been comfortable.
And it's not even just comfortable about the short term, when you think about when we were under Dean and we had Jack, and it felt like, I don't know, it felt like we were riding a wave still then, we'd survived and then we'd built on it, and I think we were sort of like a shock package. Whereas now I feel like I'm seeing a really good blueprint and a really good team, really top coach, and just feel comfortable that long term we're going to be really sound. And I think next season, really solid challenges.
For the league, was that,
for the Champions League as well.
Somehow we're in it,
We're getting top 4 now. I've decided.
I've gone top 2 next year. I've gone all out. Just you wait. You wait till we win that league, and you're storming onto Villa Park.
Honestly,
we've plastered head to toe in AVFC Faithful podcast stickers. That's the way we're going to end the season next year.
I'll be the AVFC sticker man.
Yeah, literally.
But yeah, it's good times, and everyone should be really excited and really proud of what we've seen since Emery's come in.
It's exciting times, it really is. And so it's a short episode this week. I mean, we're literally cut in half our recording time this week from an hour down to 30 minutes. makes it sound like we don't want to talk about Villa when we lose, but it's.
I feel like we fit in a lot in that half an hour ish, just over. So, but yeah, it's getting to that point now where I think we do tend to cover the same things, winning a lot, and it was strange to lose. But I think when you lose, there is that less of a wanting to ramble on. But yeah, no, everything's just still excited. I said to you earlier, every time I look back and watch it back, I feel like that game wasn't as bad as how it felt when I was watching against United. So, and there's plenty of positives to take, and we've got to keep doing that every week. No time to sulk if you lose. You've got to, get back at it. And as I said, it's not the fact that you've lost; it's how you react to it now. And a big win against Wolves would do the job.
And that's quite exciting, isn't it? Because we bounced back from those 3 terrible losses at the start of the year. So I have no worries and no distaste in my mouth over it. I'm excited for it more. And look, if people are worried that we're not rambling as much, they need not worry, because we are just saving it all for when the season ends. Because there's a lot. There's so much we've covered. I've got a little whiteboard, and I think I've got 25 video ideas on there at the moment. So people need not worry about that. And
we'll be keeping busy over the summer period. Don't everyone worry. So
yes, indeed. Well, as always, let's see, the tiredness is kicking in now. Bank holiday weekends are absolute killers. I love them. We were talking about this before, but they are killers at the moment. Well, me and James are either hungover or just too tired on the Monday, and it's killers.
Yeah, they had to be I think that's why Tuesday is just the best in general, because weekends and bank holidays absolutely ruin us.
Yeah, look, if we had it our way, we would record straight after kickoff, but we did that once, and I've listened to it back. I think you can resemble about 2 clear lines of dialogue, and we're all just hyperventilating throughout the rest of it. And you got Boubacar Kamara running across the keyboards halfway through, so it's always good. It's always fun, and yeah, it's so much more to come. That's what I'm excited for. And Emery's tricky villains in Europe next season is going to change everything. So, as always, that my little graphic's going to pop up now. I don't know why I'm doing this. It's not going to pop up there, but make sure to hit the little notifications bell, and of course subscribe. We hit 300 subscribers, James.
Yep. Thank you everybody for subscribing. Great. It feels like really big growth over the last couple of months that we've been on YouTube. It's amazing. So yeah, thank you everyone for subscribing and watching.
And of course, everyone listening on Spotify or other podcasting applications. I don't even know them all at this stage. There's about 200, but we're grateful for you all. And obviously, if you haven't yet, do run over to the YouTube and subscribe, because there are some stuff on the YouTube that comes up that does not go on Spotify or any podcasting sites. And it's always exciting. And obviously, when we had John on, we got a big boost from that as well. And that was a great video. And if you haven't yet seen it, please do go back and check it out, because I think a lot of people got a bit too angry at John's other video, but that one's good, because it's a lot more open, and you get a bit more of a chat about it. So
and we're on it. So
yeah, of course. Makes a good video a great video, don't it, James?
It does, always.
Beautiful stuff. Well, until next time, up the Villa.
Up the Villa.